Welcome, everybody. It is episode 111, Triple Ones here on 101 on the Legacy Maker Sports Network, and of course, airing on Bowie Television in Bowie, Maryland. So glad to be with you today to bring you another episode of 101. This is week 7, the NFL Power Rankings. Should be a fun one. Should be a fun one as we get a little bit deeper into the season. The Power Rankings are starting to solidify themselves just a little bit more, but we're going to bring you all of that and just a smidge more, of course, the finale, all that good stuff here as we get ready for another episode of One on One. I'm super excited. I know you're excited. Let's get this bad boy going. One on One, episode 111 on the Legacy Maker Sports Network and Bowie TV.
One, 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 one. Welcome to the one-on-one. When it comes to ratings, man, we number one. I get the truth, then I give them the scoop. If anybody got a question, I give them the proof. Welcome to the one-on-one. When it comes to ratings, man, we number one. I get the truth, then I give them the scoop. If anybody got a question, I give them the proof. Welcome to one-on-one at Legacy Maker Sports Network.
Ladies and gentlemen, we got another episode for you here of One on One here on the Legacy Maker Sports Network and, of course, on Bowie Television. We're excited. We're excited for another episode. It is Thursday, so you know what that means. We've got some football heading your way tonight. We've got the Jaguars traveling to New Orleans to take on we got the Jaguars traveling to New Orleans to take on the New Orleans Saints. So good one tonight. Trevor Lawrence dealing with some issues, but we'll see if those issues can be rectified here in the next hour or so to see if Jacksonville can move on and move to 5-2 on the season. Saints looking for their 4th victory, but we got a lot to get into today. We got our power rankings, we've got our finale, we got our players of the week, our top 5 MVPs. We're going to get into all of that. So let's go ahead and get it started. No need to sugarcoat it. Let's start off with the bottom. All right, ladies and gentlemen, this week on the bottom, let's go ahead and get it going. So, like, the bottom this week is going to be very, very interesting. I hope you. All right, so let's go ahead and get into it. Let's get into the bottom. Let's see who's sitting at the bottom this week on our NFL power rankings as we enter week 7. Sitting at the very bottom, and this should be no surprise to a lot of people heading into this week because they're the only team winless right now in the NFL, and that is the Carolina Panthers. Excuse me. Carolina came into this game against the Dolphins on fire. They were up 14-0. People were shocked. People were like, whoa, wait a minute. Look at the Panthers trying to upset the Dolphins. And then the Dolphins just turned on the heat. And, Tua, 3 touchdowns, 262 yards. Tyreek Hill, 6 receptions, 163 yards, receiving and a touchdown. The Dolphins just turned it up. And they really cranked it up on the Panthers to win that game 42-21. Carolina's definitely in a rebuilding mode right now. Some people are saying Frank Wright is already on the hot seat there in Carolina, even though it is his first season. But they're already screaming that. And so if you're a Carolina Panthers fan, it's going to be a long season. Your pick goes to Chicago. Right now, the Bears have 2 of the top 3 picks. So it's just like, if you're a Panthers fan, it's a really tough time right there in Carolina right now. But we got the Panthers at 32. Hopefully, they will get their first win of the season at some point. At 31, we got the New York Giants. The Giants actually played really tough against the Buffalo Bills on Sunday night. This past Sunday night. Tyrod Taylor comes in there. He has 200 yards, no touchdowns, but 200 yards passing. Saquon Barkley's back in the mix. He's got 24 carries, 93 yards. And the Giants team had a chance. They had a chance to beat Buffalo, knock them off, get that win, get that second win, and it just didn't happen. It would have been a really big win for the Giants if they could have got this one. They play the Commanders this week, and I've been saying this over and over on other platforms and whatnot, but this is a game that the Giants can win only because they just have had the Commanders' number in the last couple of years. The Commanders have snuck one in there somewhere, but the Giants have pretty much had their number. And so this is a big week for the Giants to try to get back on track. And for the Commanders, and I know we're talking ahead, but they're going to need to try to get that monkey off their back. We will see Tyrod Taylor start unless something happens or he gets nicked up here. He should be starting over the next couple of games here for the Giants. And I'm really liking this time for Tyrod Taylor. I think he gets another opportunity to show what type of quarterback that he can be. But the Giants are 31 on this countdown, sitting at 1-5. At 30, the Chicago Bears. Oh boy, I tell you what, they probably should be 31, but I mean it's it's kind of close on both ends. Bears fought hard against the Vikings. They lose 19-13. Biggest thing coming from this game, the loss of Justin Fields. We don't know exactly where that's going to be looking like, and it looks like Justin Fields is probably going to be out at least a couple of weeks, and that's not good for Chicago. Not having him is going to be a really rough deal. And the Vikings, who are 25 on our countdown, getting their second win of the season, a much-needed win. They're getting themselves prepared. They got the 49ers this week, and then they got the Packers the next week. So a chance for the Vikings to kind of prove themselves over the next couple of weeks, but they do get a win over the Bears. Bears are in a really dark place right now. The only positive thing is they got those 2 top 5 picks lingering in their hand as of right now. So the Bears are at 30. At 29, the New England Patriots. New England went from a team that I thought was going to be very competitive all year to a team that's like, wow, what is this? And that's what we saw the 2 games before this past week. They actually competed extremely hard against the Raiders, but the Raiders were able to get the win. And you know, even though they lost Garoppolo, they were able still to pull it off. You know, Hoyer came in there, did some decent things. But it was good for the Raiders because the Raiders are now won 2 in a row. So they're starting to kind of get a little momentum. But the Patriots are 1-5, and the struggles continue. And then something I never thought I would hear out loud, but now all of a sudden people are calling for Bill Belichick's, job, which I personally don't feel like that's something, at least yet, that we should be looking at. But, Belichick is up there in age, and, maybe there's time for change in New England. I just can't see it happen at this moment. But anywho, the New England Patriots are at 29. At 28, the Denver Broncos. The Broncos, boy, a team that, hung in on Thursday night last week, only losing 19-8 to the Chiefs. They had opportunities, just couldn't get it. It's just the offense is stale. They're just not a good football team. That's the nicest thing I can say about the Denver Broncos right now. The only reason why I have them as high as they do is because they have Russell Wilson at their quarterback. But even with that, it still hasn't been looking great at all. So right now, Denver's at 28. See if they can figure that thing out. They got the Packers this week. I personally hope they don't figure it out, but that's on a personal front, okay? And if you want to hear a little bit more about the Broncos and the Packers game coming up this week, check out Green and Gold over everything here on the Legacy Maker Sports Network. Myself and Lamont Thomas talk about the Packers and Broncos game in depth. Okay, there's my shameless plug. Next, at 27, we got the Arizona Cardinals. Tough week for the Cardinals. I don't say they regressed a little bit, but the Rams are playing pretty decent football right now. I still like this Cardinals team to be one of those teams that can you never know which week you're going to get out. And that's how they've been playing all year. They've been playing tough. They probably should have 3 wins so far this season, and they don't. So that's something that I felt like, they should have beat the Commanders. They've had their chances against other teams, and it just hasn't pulled. They haven't been able to pull it off. Tough week against the Rams, but the Rams look really good right now with Cooper Kupp and Puka Nacua. And then Kylan Williams, who's just having a monster year at the running back position. So a really good article, Tales of the Week, with our guy Tyrone Montgomery talks about this Rams team being a potential Super Bowl contender. May not be too far-fetched. We'll see. But the Cardinals are at 27. They're still, playing tough football. Just hasn't been going their way the last couple of weeks. At 26, the Tennessee Titans. Titans went over to London, had their chances, lose Tannehill. Malik Willis comes in. We've heard some things back and forth with that. Still not a pretty situation right now to me in Tennessee. I feel like defensively they have a decent enough squad that they can make some moves. That offense just doesn't look good, even with Derrick Henry. And Derrick Henry had a pretty good game on Sunday. 12 carries, 97 yards, and a TD. Just wasn't enough. We got the Titans at 26. 25, of course, we got the Vikings, getting their second win. Kirk Cousins doing Kirk Cousins things, and the Vikings get their win over the Bears to move them up a little bit, put them in a little bit of a better position. So Vikings at 25. 24, the Packers were on a bye, so we just kind of left them there. The Packers were on a bye, so we'll see what we can talk about with them next week. So 23, the team formerly known as the San Diego Chargers, the LA Chargers, lose a really tough one, a nail biter to the Dallas Cowboys, and now they're sitting at 2-3. And the Chargers, and I know I've said it multiple times on the show, but as my guy Lamar Thomas would say, the Chargers charge. The Chargers be charging. They do things the Chargers way, and they're such a good team on paper, and they just feel like they never live up to their potential. I don't know how long Coach Stanley's going to have his job, or Staley's going to have his job out there in LA. So Chargers are at 23. At 22, the Indianapolis Colts, a team 3-3, tough loss to the Jaguars this week, ugly loss to the Jaguars this week. Jaguars beat up on the Colts at home 37-20. Minshew, 3 picks. You don't want to see that from your backup QB, but they're definitely missing Anthony Richardson right now. And with Richardson being out, Minshew is going to be the guy, and there's a chance that Richardson may be out for the season. So I still like Minshew as a QB overall. I don't, maybe not a super starter or whatnot. He's had his moments and shining moments as a starter in the league, but tough loss for the Colts. But Jacksonville is once again clicking. They've won 3 straight games, and they are looking forward to New Orleans tonight. Speaking of the New Orleans, we got New Orleans sitting at 21. They're 3-3. Saints lost to the Texans. This Texans team has played really well. Really good football right now for this Texans team. I like what I see from them, and I think they can keep things rolling. So we've got the Saints at 21. They're still trying to figure out things offensively. It just looks like a stagnant offense. I personally don't think they have the right coach. Dennis Allen is a defensive guy, and they've got to find somebody that can come in there and get that offense running because they got too many weapons. Kamara, Thomas, Jimmy Graham's even had some moments this year. Derek Carr, you got pieces, and they shouldn't be playing the way they're playing. So there it is, the bottom for this week. Panthers, Giants, Bears, Patriots, Broncos, Cardinals, Titans, Vikings, Packers, Chargers, Colts, and Saints. All right, so we are sitting at that bottom and seeing where things are kind of standing at the bottom. And there's a couple teams in the bottom I think could make their way to the outside looking in at some point, back into it, I guess you can say. I think the Packers have a chance to do it this week. Also, the Chargers, the Colts, and of course, the Saints. So there's a couple teams I think that can make that move into it. The other teams in the bottom right now, maybe not so much, but we'll see how things go. Now, let's go ahead and check out the outside looking in. All right, so with the outside looking in, let's start with it at number 20, the Atlanta Falcons. I had a chance to go to Atlanta this weekend. For those who know, I cover the Washington Commanders, and the Commanders are on the road taking on the Atlanta Falcons in the Mercedes-Benz Stadium. It was a gorgeous stadium. Absolutely gorgeous stadium. I felt like I got some really good pictures down there. If you want to check out the pictures, you can go to my Facebook page. You can also check them out on Instagram. But it was just a really, really good experience. Got a chance to see Bobby Brown in concert. Everybody, Hey, I don't want to do too much because I think you can get like suspended for that or something. But anyway, it was great to see Bobby Brown in concert. Got a free concert out of that. But the Falcons did not look great in that game. They still had a chance to win that game late, and Desmond Ritter's 3 interceptions just is not going to cut it. You can't throw 3 interceptions and expect to win the game, but they still had a chance late. But the 3 interceptions were just a little too much for Atlanta, and they lose this one to the Commanders, who are number 17 on our countdown this week. I keep saying the countdown, but the power rankings this week, they're sitting there at 3-3, but a much needed win for the Commanders after losing that really tough one to the Bears last week. I've said it multiple times. I thought this was a good chance for the Commanders to make a stretch run, and losing that one to the Bears, then they have to kind of bounce back here. Falcons, they get a dub. They get the Giants. They got to try to get a dub there. Then they got Philly coming to town. Then they go to New England, which New England game is starting to look a little bit more winnable. Then they got to go to Seattle. So it was a nice and much needed win for the Commanders. Falcons right now still in the mix in the NFC South. I don't know if they're at least like half a game back of the Buccaneers. So, and as you can see, the Buccaneers are 13 on the power rankings this week. At number 19, we've got the Raiders. The Raiders get a win, a nice little win over New England. Puts them at 3-3. I can't talk today, y'all. Put them at 3-3. But it hasn't been pretty. They won an ugly one against Green Bay. They won an ugly one against the Patriots. And then they won an ugly one against the Broncos at the beginning of the season. So it's just like all the games have been ugly, but they found ways to win them. So that's kind of how the MO has been for the Raiders. But they're 3-3, and in the end, all it counts is the W in the standings. So they got them. The Raiders are at 19. At 18, the Jets. Now, thought about putting the Jets higher on the power rankings. Maybe put them up a little bit, 2 or 3 spots higher. But their defense is really good. Their defense is really good, and the defense has been saving the day. They played extremely well against the Eagles, shocking the football world, beating the Eagles for the first time. They've never beat the Philadelphia Eagles. This was the first time the Jets beat the Philadelphia Eagles ever. And I just didn't even believe it when I heard it. I said that can't be a real thing, but it is. The Jets won their first ever game against the Eagles in the history. The Jets have been around since the 60s, and they've never beat the Eagles. And that one kind of blew my mind, but they did on Sunday to get their first ever win. So congratulations to the New York Jets, Zach Wilson and the crew. But they're at 18. Of course, we said the Commanders are at 17. At 16, the Houston Texans getting a win over the Saints last week, and a team that I didn't think was going to be that very good this year is playing really solid football. They're not lights out, but they're playing solid football, and that's all you can ask for. They're going to be competitive each week. So watch out for this Texans team. I like what D'Amico Ryans and the boys are doing out there. So the Texans are at 16. At 15, the LA Rams. Now, I know I talked a little bit earlier about Tyrone Montgomery's Tales of the Week for last week. Check it out. Talks about why he thinks the LA Rams are a Super Bowl contender, but they're playing good football. They really are playing good football. Cooper Kupp's back. Williams is running the ball extremely well. They signed Darrell Henderson back to the practice squad. They brought in a couple people, Miles Garrison, former Dolphins running back, and then, just recently on the Vikings practice squad, they bring him in. So I like what they're doing. They're not playing bad football. They're right in the middle right now, but they're competitive. They're one of those teams that you don't want to see on Sunday because they could sneak you, and they could get one on you. Rams are at 15. At 14, the Bengals crawling out of the dungeon. They had a really, really, really rough start. A really, really rough start. Don't look at that number. They are technically 3-3. So I'm sorry that says 3-2, but the Bengals are 3-3, and they get a nice home victory against a Seattle team that has been having up to the point was 3-1 and having a solid season. Seattle's 12. I probably could have had them above Seattle, but Seattle's record, I'll let Seattle slide on this one. The Bengals right now, though, are starting to cook a little bit. It's a slow process, and not cook maybe like numbers wise, but they're starting to get on that winning streak, and that's what you want to see if you're a Cincinnati fan. But the biggest thing you want to see is a healthy Joe Burrow, and hopefully that'll happen here soon. But also, you saw Jamar Chase; he's coming back into form, so that's a good thing for Bengals fans. Cincinnati's at 14. At 13, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Tampa Bay played a really tough Lions team. Couldn't get anything going offensively. They lose that 120-6. The way Jared Goff is playing right now, he's looking very MVP-ish. I'm just saying, hint, hint. But Tampa Bay couldn't pull it off. They were 3-1 headed into this game. We got them 13th from the power rankings to see if they can bounce back a little bit next week and see if they can beat the Falcons next week. But we'll see. At 12, the Seahawks. Seahawks losing that one to the Bengals. Another team that, interesting to see how they will handle things here in week 7. But we got them at 12 for now. But they're a team that I feel like they could pick up that pace just a little bit here in the upcoming weeks. At 11, the Cleveland Browns. Cleveland upset win of the week, beating the 49ers 19-17, and the 49ers kicker Jake Moody. I hope I got the first name right, but Moody missed a field goal that would have gave the 49ers the win, and the Browns win 19-17, a game that nobody thought that the Browns win, except for my man Rob Johnson, who hit on the Lone Ranger pick in our NFL pick'ems this week. So congratulations. Oh, and shout out to Corey Allen, who hit on the Jets Lone Ranger pick. He's the only person out of the 14 experts to pick the Jets. So congratulations to those two for Lone Ranger wins. Now, there it is, our outside looking in. We've got the Falcons, the Raiders, the Jets, the Commanders, Texans, Rams, Bengals, Buccaneers, Seahawks, and the Cleveland Browns. So as we get into our last part, we're getting ready, ladies and gentlemen, for the top 10. Ain't no need to sugarcoat it. As my man AB, smoking and grilling with AB, ain't no need to sugarcoat it. Let's go ahead and get into it, and let's get them to the top 10. All right. Top 10 this week. Sitting at number 10, the Pittsburgh Steelers. Pittsburgh on a bye last week, so they didn't lose anything. They're just sitting comfortably in the 10 spot, and we'll see if they can, continue to get better as the weeks go along. They to me have been a little bit of a surprising team, but Mike Tomlin is a great coach, and he knows how to coach them up. So we got Steelers at 10. At 9, the Dallas Cowboys, 4-2, big win against the Chargers in LA. So a nice win for the Cowboys. I didn't pick them last week. I didn't think they would get the dub, but they played really tough against the Chargers. They get the win. They're back in the top 10. They're sitting at number 9. At number 8, the Baltimore Ravens. The Baltimore Ravens went to London and got a win over the Titans to move to 4-2. Another game that wasn't pretty, but they found a way to win. And they fought hard in that bad boy to get the W. Jackson had 1 pick, 1 touchdown. Andrews had 4 receptions for 69 yards. But it just, like I said, it feels like the Ravens are still trying to find their offense. So we'll see if they are able to eventually find their offense. The Ravens are at 8. At 7, the Buffalo Bills. Buffalo Bills are starting to really crank it up. They struggled this week. They were starting to crank it up, and then they struggled this week against the Giants. But in the end, some controversial calls here and there, but they still were able to get the win to move to 4-2. And right now, they're number 7 on the power rankings. So good job by the Buffalo Bills as they continue to try to climb back up into maybe that top 5 here in the power rankings. At number 6, a team that beat the Buffalo Bills, one of the teams that beat the Buffalo Bills, the Jacksonville Jaguars. 3 straight wins. We talked about how they dominated the Colts, and, they're still hoping that Trevor Lawrence will be able to go tonight, or at least, will be as healthy as possible tonight, but we'll see. We got the Jaguars at 6. Now we enter the top 5. I know you see that number 1, and you're like, Darrell, you must be crazy. But at number 5, the Eagles, losing a tough one to the Jets. The Eagles' offense and defense are struggling. Even though they're 5-1, they don't feel like the same Eagles team, obviously. Losing both coordinators, a lot of people sometimes don't realize it's such an underestimated thing when you lose both coordinators and you're trying to get the new coordinators acclimated. And there's only a couple teams I've seen that, really been able to handle those type of things well. New England, when the Tom Brady years, they still kind of kept rolling without any hiccups. So right now, Philly's kind of, figuring it out. But they played the number 4 team this week on our countdown, the Miami Dolphins, who steamrolled the Panthers. So that's a big matchup this week. Somebody's going to drop out of the top 5, in my opinion, after this game. But this is going to be a big game booster for both of these teams. The Dolphins have played cupcake games, except for the Bills, and the Bills beat them. So all the other games, if the Dolphins had, if you go back and look at who they played, they weren't big, sexy teams. Broncos, and they beat up on the Panthers, and they beat up on teams that they're supposed to win that game, but they got terrible records right now. So Dolphins at 4, but we'll see. At number 3, and it pains me to say, the San Francisco 49ers. They dropped 2 slots. San Francisco just lost a tough one. They lost McCaffrey and Deebo Samuel, who I traded for this week in my fantasy. But they lost both of them this week. and during the game, and you can't say that it didn't play a factor because McCaffrey has been the all in all on that offense for the most part. And Debo's still a distraction, even if he's not been the Debo that we've seen the last couple of years. He's been a distraction for those defenses, and they have to pay attention to him because he's Debo Samuel. So with that being said, 49ers are at 3. At number 2, a hot team, the Chiefs. They lost game 1 to our number 1 team, the Detroit Lions, and they're on a 5-game winning streak, and they haven't slowed down since. So the Chiefs are rocking and rolling and trying to get back to that number 1 spot. But this week, and I may get crucified for it, the number 1 team in my power rankings, the Detroit Lions. The Detroit Lions are playing clean, solid, great all-around football. So, Dan Campbell, you deserve a handshake, sir. You have done a phenomenal job with this Detroit Lions team, and they are our number 1 team in the NFL power rankings for going into week 7 here on 101. So that's Steelers, Cowboys, Ravens, Bills, Jaguars, Eagles, Dolphins, 49ers, Chiefs, and number 1, the Detroit Lions. I never thought I'd see the day. Never thought I'd see the day that the Detroit Lions would be number 1 on the power rankings. But they're playing great football so far this year. All right. Let's go ahead and finish it up. Let's hit them up hard with the finale. This week, we head into the finale this week, and as we head into the finale, we're going to get an opportunity to add a couple new parts of the finale, and then in a couple of weeks we'll add another part to the finale. But we're gonna go ahead and wrap this bad boy up. First, our players of the week for last week. Our new number 1 team, led by Mr. Jared Goff, 30 for 44, 353 yards, 2 touchdowns, and a 20-6 win over Tampa Bay. Jared Goff right now, in my opinion, is playing the best football in his career. Yes, he's been to the Super Bowl with the Rams, but right now he's playing the best overall football in his career. He is truly a leader on the Detroit Lions team. I don't think anybody saw that coming, including myself. So kudos to Jared Goff. Defensive player of the weekend. I got a chance to see this live and in person. I know I'm okay. Maybe it's a brag. I apologize, y'all. I'm not trying to brag. That's stupid. But I did get a chance to see it, and like Jamin Davis was just absolutely. He had a really good game. He had an interception, he had a sack, he had 8 tackles. The pick, the energy was just live for Washington, and I think it was a very interesting game for Washington, especially after they found out that teammate Charles Leno's wife had a miscarriage, and he did end up not playing in the game. And I think they kind of came out expired to play for their guy, and it was a tough deal overall for for the Commanders team. But I think they came through big time for their guy, and I'm pretty sure they dedicated the game to the family. So our condolences to the Leno family and prayers, and and that you're able to get past this. And I know you'll never fully get past it, but at least show you some, be able to get some type of comfort. Next, we head to our MVPs, our MVP candidates, top 5. Tua makes his way back to number 1 after a nice win over the Panthers. McCaffrey drops down to number 2. Look who's back. Look who's in the countdown now. Mr. Jared Goff. Like I said, top 5 in passing yards. He's having a really good season. He has really done a good job as that quarterback. I mean, for me, it's hard right now not to see him as one of the top 5 MVP candidates, especially the way that Detroit Lions team is playing. At number 4, Tyreek Hill. I want to put him higher, but I feel like the MVP award is a quarterback award, and unless Hill just goes nuts, rest of the season, gets to 2,000 yards and goes on and on, I think that's the only way we really may see him as a true MVP candidate. But in my eyes, he definitely deserves to be in this top 5. At number 5, he had a bye last week, Mr. TJ Watt, leading the league in sacks with 8. So much love to TJ Watt. There it is, Tua, McCaffrey, Goff, Hill, and Watt. Those are our top 5 MVP candidates. Now, let's look into my record last week. Now, I'm saying this because the piece I'm adding into it. I'm going to let y'all see our NFL experts lead and see where we stand. But this was my record last week. My overall record is 58-35. I went 8-7 last week, 8-6 the week before. So back-to-back struggle weeks for me. I need a strong 13, 14 win week to kind of get things back in my favor right now. I'm sitting as the 6th seed in this league. And as you can see, you got my man Joey Raymond sitting at the top, legacy maker contributor, 62 wins. Justice sitting there with 59 wins. She snuck past me, and now she's ahead of me at number 2. I'm sitting at 3. James is at number 4 with 57 wins. Corey's in that mix. He's trying to bump up there. He got a Lone Ranger win, as you can see. Victor's in that mix as well. It's a very tight race. 12 games between number 1 and number 7, but anything can go. We still got at least, we're going to week 15, so we got another 8 weeks before we decide a winner or decide who's going to make the playoffs in our NFL Experts Pick'em League. That's the Legends division. Now we swing over to the All-Star division. The overall leader right now is Christina. She's got 63 wins, 30 losses. Russ with 61. He's in the mix. He's the number 3 guy overall in the league. Ty's with 58. Larry's got 53. Jay with 52. Joe's got 51. Joe started off rough, and he's been playing and catching up the last couple of weeks. So that shows you that you can, as long as you keep steady, you can make things happen. And then Rob, 49 and 44, unfortunately, last place. But most importantly, he's got 2 Lone Ranger wins, and right now holds him in the lead for that competition. Now for tonight's game. Here is my prediction for tonight's game. I got the Jaguars winning this one 25-17. I think they'll pull it off. Even if some weird reason Lawrence doesn't play, I just got a feeling they'll find a way to pull it off. But I got the Jacksonville Jaguars winning 25-17 over the Saints. For the week, this is my winners for the week. I got Jaguars, Commanders, Packers, Browns, Bills, Lions, Raiders, Bucks, Rams, Seahawks. I almost picked the Cardinals. Chiefs, I almost picked the Chargers on that one. Dolphins and 49ers. Those are my winners for the week. One other thing I forgot before we go was our experts of the week for the NFL Pick'em. Christina went 13-2 last week, and then Russ and Joy both went 11-4. All right, everybody, that is it for one-on-one here on the Legacy Maker Sports Network. I want to thank everybody for tuning in. Of course, all of our Bowie TV listeners, I hope you enjoyed the broadcast today. All the people listening on YouTube and Facebook and all our social media pages is always a lot of fun. People that listen on Anchor, thanks for tuning in. For those who hear me talk for 30, 40 minutes, and hopefully I don't bore you to death. But once again, everybody, thank you all for tuning in for episode 111. We'll be back next week for episode 112, Where the Players Dwell, here on the Legacy Maker Sports Network and Bowie Television. Until then, everybody, we will see you all next time.
Legacy Maker, the All Sports Network.
One. Welcome to the one-on-one. When it comes to ratings, man, we number one. I get the truth, then I give them the scoop. If anybody got a question, I give them the